Okay, we're gonna have to start again. Hey everyone, my name is Dora and welcome to The Rose Colored Life. Today I want to share with you my top 10 tips to prepare yourself for labor. When I was pregnant with my daughter, I was terrified of the idea of labor. That was the one thing that consumed my mind all the time. That's what I was thinking about, that's what I was researching, that's what I would ask people about. And you know what? As much research as you do, there's nothing really that prepares you 100% for labor, but there are some things that can get you into a better space, both physically and mentally. And so that's what I want to share with you today. Some things that helped me out, some things that made my life a little bit easier. Tip number 1, take a prenatal class. So my husband and I didn't end up taking the class that was with our city, but we ended up going to a private course that was run by a doula, and we loved it. It was a 6-week seminar, and it really gave you information both on allopathic treatments and naturopathic treatments, and it gave you a lot of different options. And it taught us everything from the basics of female anatomy all the way to postpartum care. So I just found it really informative and really helpful. And I'm somebody who likes to do research and likes to really get as many details as possible to prepare myself mentally. And so that was really helpful. And it was a great bonding experience for me and my husband as well. And don't feel, uncomfortable if you don't want to bring a partner or don't have somebody that you want to bring to the class. You can take these courses by yourself, which so many people did. And you can also bring your mom or bring a friend or bring another person that you want to be your support person. But that brings us to tip number 2, have a good support system. So as I mentioned, I took those courses with my husband, and that helped him, really prepare to be with me in the delivery room. And so he was with me in the delivery room. He fetched all these things for me. He would get me water. He would give me back rubs and massages, which were really, fantastic in the moment when you're in a lot of pain. But the number one thing that your support system does for you is they advocate for you to the doctors and nurses. Sometimes when you're in a hospital giving birth, you get pressured to take an epidural, you get pressured to do certain things, and they want to do things in a way that is efficient for them. And that might not be how you want your birth to go. So make sure that you and your partner have discussed things ahead of time and have them advocate for you. Because when you're in the middle of a contraction, you're not listening to what the doctor is asking, and you're not going to be able to stand up and say, no, I don't want that. And at the same time, you might feel overwhelmed or emotional. You might just think, in the moment that the doctor knows best and go along with what they say. But you really should do things that feel, good to you and that you really want. And so don't feel pressured and allow that support person to be your advocate for you in the moment. Tip number 3, have a birth plan. At the end of the day, you might not follow through with your birth plan. Everything might change, and that's okay. It might be for your safety, it might be for the baby's safety, or both. It's totally fine if things change in the process, but having a birth plan helps you think through major decisions that you have to make on the spot. Like for example, for me, one of the things that I didn't want to take my epidural until at least 6 centimeters, if at all. And so during that time, when I hit 4 centimeters or when I was at 3 centimeters, I kept getting questions. Every couple minutes, a doctor would come in or a nurse would come in and say, oh, you're in a lot of pain. Would you like your epidural now? It's about time for you to take the epidural. And so that's when, my husband would step in and he'd say, no, we discussed this. It's in her birth plan. She does not want to take the epidural right now. And he would advocate for me. So work out a birth plan, even if it ends up changing, that's totally fine. Tip number 4, sit on a birthing ball. So for those of you who don't know what that is, it's actually just like one of those big exercise balls that you pump up, and you sit on it normally, like you sit on any chair or couch or anything. And what it does is that it kind of tips your body forwards, and so it creates like a hammock for your baby. So, when you're in any laid back positions, a lot of times, because we spend a lot of time working at desks or just sitting down in general, our babies end up in a posterior position, which means that their face is facing outwards when towards your stomach, and you actually want them facing the other direction, which is called anterior. If a baby is born posterior, then you get a lot of back labor, you get a lot of pain, and it's just more difficult to give birth, and they do a lot to try to turn the baby around. But it's actually just easier and better if you get them in an anterior position in the first place. And so the way you do that, or one of the ways that you do that, is by sitting on a birthing ball. When you create that hammock with your stomach by, sitting forwards on that birthing ball, the baby kind of falls into the hammock and it turns them into that anterior position that you want them in the first place. And so it's just really helpful and it's really comfortable and it takes a lot of pressure off your back. So when you're in that 3rd trimester and you are already uncomfortable and you have a lot of back pain, sit on your birthing ball. It helps you prepare for labor, but it also helps with your pain in the moment. Tip number 5 is raspberry leaf tea. So that was one of the things that the doula who was running our course recommended, was raspberry leaf tea, and she just, explained the benefits of it and how it helps soften your cervix and prepare you for labor in advance. And so during my last trimester, I drank tons of this raspberry leaf tea. Now, it tastes really good hot, but I actually didn't drink it hot because I was giving birth in July, and so I was feeling really hot and uncomfortable and sweaty already. And so instead of drinking a hot drink, I turned it into iced tea. So I would just make a huge batch of it and put it in my fridge and let it cool off. And then when I wanted to drink it, I bought like a bottle of classic syrup from Starbucks, and so I'd like put a pump of classic syrup in or some like lemon juice and make it like a lemonade or an iced tea, and I would drink that, and it was so good. It was really refreshing, tasted good, and it really helps your body, prepare. And so it has its benefits, but it's also like just a good drink. Tip number 6 is use a diffuser to help you relax. So, I was having a lot of trouble falling asleep during my last trimester because of a lot of pain and discomfort that I was having in my body. I'm not somebody who usually struggles to sleep, so that was kind of new for me. And so my husband suggested using a diffuser. So we got a diffuser and put it by my side of the bed, and we actually diffused some lavender oil, which was, so soothing and relaxing, and it really like immediately would put me to sleep. And, at the hospital, actually, we brought it with us and we set it up for a while. And so some hospitals will allow you to do that, and some hospitals might tell you not to do that, and they might like ask that you don't do that for various reasons. And so, one of the things you could do is just have the bottle of oil and like smell the oil, or put it a little bit on your gown and you can smell that, so that it's just personally on you and not necessarily in the air around you. But it was one of the things that really helped soothe me and relax me and just help me breathe, because, it was one of those things that would just immediately make me feel calm and relaxed. Tip number 7 is pre-register at your hospital. So you can get the forms ahead of time and just fill out everything and pre-register before you actually go into labor. And now this is like really beneficial, because one of the things that you don't want to be doing when you're sitting there, like when you're already in labor and contractions have started and you're in pain, is worrying about filling out a form, or worrying about, thinking through small things like, do I want a semi-private room or a private room, and does my insurance cover this, and all those kinds of details. So figure those things out in advance and pre-register, and just take the form to the hospital ahead of time. You can take it months in advance and just give it to them, and they ask you for your due date and on the form, and so they know when to kind of expect you. But at any point, if you end up going into labor early, they have it there and they know what to do, and it's one less thing that you have to worry about. It's one less thing that you have to look for as you're getting ready to go to the hospital. It's one less thing that you have to do when you get to the hospital. It saves you so much time, and just it's a little bit of peace of mind. Tip number 8 is take a tour of the hospital. So you can do this probably when you go pre-register as well. And so you just go in and you get to see where you're gonna park, you get to see, how you walk up to the maternity ward. And at the same time, they'll show you the suites. They'll show you if there's like a tub or a jacuzzi room or something that you're gonna be able to use while you're in labor. And you get to know, a little bit about the process, what you're gonna do and how you're gonna do it. And it's really helpful just for you to figure out the logistics of getting to the hospital and what that looks like. So we actually really appreciated that. We went in, we got a parking pass because we weren't sure how long we were gonna have to stay there. And so we got a parking pass ahead of time and we were prepared for that. We went and we just, got situated. We realized that, okay, this is the best parking lot to get to. This is, how you walk up, and we saved ourselves that time that way. So it was one less thing to stress about. We didn't get there and start asking for directions or get lost. It was just a really smooth thing. Once we got there, we were up and registered in a matter of minutes because we had already done that tour in advance. Tip number 9, pack your hospital bag ahead of time. Now, we actually had quite a few complications during our pregnancy, and so because of that, we packed our hospital bag months in advance, because we were in and out of the hospital and we knew that the baby could come early and because of the complications, and so we just thought, better safe than sorry, and so we packed our bags super early. But most people would pack their hospital bag about week 36, so when you're about a month away from your due date, because at week 37, you're considered full term. At that point in time, if your water breaks or if you start having contractions, you could go into labor at any point and they could just, take you in, and you might not have everything prepared. You might not know exactly what it is that you need for your bag. You might not have a nursing bra or other things that you need. And so, make yourself a list of things that you want to put in your hospital bag and start, if you need to buy anything, or just if you need to wash a couple outfits and throw them in there, do that in advance. Do that about a month in advance so that when the time comes, you just grab the bag and go. We actually left our bag in our car, in our trunk, because there was nothing in it that was gonna go bad or that was gonna get ruined in our trunk. And so we left it in our trunk, and then that was about it. We just, we knew that whenever we would get called in, we would have to go into the hospital, we would just, take the bag and go. Finally, tip number 10 is make a playlist of music and bring a little speaker or bring headphones so that you can listen to that music. Most hospitals will allow you even to bring it in if you're having a C-section, bring that playlist in and you can listen to the music. It's such a good way to help you relax and help you focus and help you, get yourself in the right place mentally. So I had a playlist of music that I wanted, going on in the background, and I had that going on while I was, contracting and while I was laboring for the first few centimeters. And then once I had my epidural, I actually, I didn't feel contractions anymore. I didn't feel the need for the relaxing music, but I did still want something to keep my mind off of things. And so my husband and I put on a TV show and we watched The Office and we laughed and we just, had a good time while we were waiting for me to get to the point where I had to push. And so if that's something that you prefer, then you can do that as well. But either way, just bring something to entertain you or something to keep your mind off things, because if you are having an epidural, it's a long time that you're sitting there in the hospital bed, and you don't want to just be thinking about labor. It's exciting and it's it's a good thing that's happening, but it's also a little bit stressful if you're just waiting and anticipating. So have something else to keep your mind off things. Well, those are my top 10 tips. So if you found this helpful, like my video and subscribe to my channel, and then I'll make some more videos like this. And comment below if you have any other ideas or tips that I haven't mentioned here, because I would love to learn from them and I'm sure others would as well. Okay, bye guys.